Mayor, you raised the gun issue, and so the governor, when he first came into office, put forth a list of common sense gun laws that the legislature wouldn't act on after what happened in your town. He appeared with you, said we had to do something. Governor, you since then have pretty much signed every bill easing the restrictions on guns to the point now where pretty much any adult can carry one anytime they want. How do you reconcile your position with your common sense gun laws with how you have signed the bills? And then, Mayor Whaley, if you could respond to that, I'd like to start with the governor.
Yeah, sure. Thank you for the question. First of all, the two gun laws, there's two that you're talking about. Those are different issues. Those are citizens who have constitutional rights. I think that the bills that I signed are consistent with the Constitution and consistent with the Supreme Court's interpretation of the Constitution. Let me add, during this period of time where your focus, very understandably, is on legislation, yes, we did present a bill to the legislature. It was an omnibus bill. It was a comprehensive bill. But a lot of people make a point, well, none of that passed. What they forget is all the things that we were doing and have been doing, in regard to crime, that I could do as the executive, and that I, in fact, did do, and that have made, I think, a huge, huge difference. I mean, I talked about the warrants a moment ago. We had virtually none of the warrants were being put in the national database. Now virtually every warrant is being put into the national database. That's a big deal. It's a big deal if you're a police officer and you're in Kentucky and you pull someone over from Ohio and you don't know that that person is wanted and has an outstanding warrant. And so that person is scared to death and is liable to do, God knows do what. And then the police officer has no idea. So this is a big deal. It's also a big deal. And I get back to my experience as a prosecutor, my experience as attorney general. Some of this stuff in law enforcement, it may not be very sexy. It may not be very exciting like the warrants, but it matters. It matters that when you go to a crime scene and you gather up casings, that those get entered into a national database. Because if it doesn't, then you're not going to ever, your odds of catching that guy goes down dramatically. So, these are some of the things that we have done. $250 million for local. And one of the things I really take issue with the mayor about is that we don't work with local. Go talk to your local mayor. Go talk to, someone who's not running for governor about what we do. We work very, very closely. And 900 police departments in the state, instead of taking this money and saying, hey, this is how you have to spend it, we set some broad parameters, and we are putting this money out to them, and they're using it the best way they think in their community. We also set up the Ohio Narcotics Intelligence Center. Again, not something very sexy, but if you're a police officer and you've got a phone or you've got a computer and you can't get it downloaded, and our men and women can do that for you, it's going to solve your crime. It matters a lot. So all of these things are important. I believe that there are, and it's working with the legislature, if you look at our omnibus bill that we put forward, I still believe that we will be able to pass two of those. One of those has to do with repeat violent offenders, and what that portion of the bill would have done, and now a separate bill would do, is simply say that a local judge would have the same authority as a federal judge has today, with about the same array of penalties, to make in his or her discretion a decision about how long to sentence someone who is a violent offender and who is found in possession of a gun. If you talk to local police, particularly those in cities, they will tell you if we had a bigger hammer in that regard, we could get the relatively small number of people in that city who are causing 80% of the violent crime. This bill will make a difference. I think we can get it through this legislature. Red flag is reference. We don't think, and I will argue passionately, our bill was not a red flag as it's normally known. But it did deal with a situation that comes up quite often, tragically. And so you have someone in your family who has a mental health problem, and maybe they also have an alcohol problem or a drug problem, and you know they're going to kill somebody or get killed, and something's going to happen bad. And too many families I've dealt with throughout my career who I've had to try to console and obviously couldn't do it very well because they'd lost a loved one who they knew shouldn't have had a gun. And there wasn't anything they can do. What our bill would do, is have a purely following the Constitution due process, have to go in front of a judge, but after it was found that that person was a danger to themselves or a danger to others of killing themselves or killing someone else, the guns could be removed until that, whatever problem was, went away. It's constitutional. It's something that I think the legislature should take up. So these are two areas. All the other things that we've done, but these are two areas where it does take the legislature granting this and passing the laws, and I've not given up on those, and I'm going to stay on those. And, one thing I've learned in my career in government is that those who are persistent, those who stay at it, are the ones who end up getting things that they want. And so I was disappointed we haven't got it yet. We're going to get both of them.
Here, Whaley.
Yeah, I mean, my basic answer is, Chris, that when the people of Dayton called on the governor to do something, and he said he was going to do something, it wasn't about getting the database right on the warrant section. It was about real common sense gun safety, things like universal background checks and red flag laws. And those are things he completely walked on. And then he disrespected the people of Dayton by signing stand your ground, permitless concealed carry, and the arming of teachers with very little training. I mean, we're not talking about responsible gun owners here. We're talking about making our communities more safe. And he is not interested in really doing that because he says what's politically convenient at the time. And then when the rubber meets the road, he's afraid of the extremists and radicals in his party. And frankly, I shouldn't probably have taken him at his word because he is the one that has gotten the most money from the gun makers from this past decade from the State House. It's incredibly disappointing. It's a lack of leadership. I would also point out permitless concealed carry wasn't even veto proof. He could have vetoed it, but won't stand up to extremists and radicals. And, this is personal for me. This is something that I saw happen in my community, and I'm not even talking about things that the majority of Ohioans don't agree with. They agree that we should have universal background checks. The majority of NRA members agree with us, but he's too afraid to stand up to the extremists, and it's a big disappointment.
It's sad that the Mayor of Whaley does not understand that the things that I just went through directly impact the safety of people in Dayton. They, in fact, impact the people, the safety of across this state. Look, we have crime problems, and one of the ways you deal with crime problems is old-fashioned police work, and that depends on the serving of warrants, the putting of warrants in databases. It depends on all the other things that I talked about.
Governor,
and
that's
while
just
those
a
are not
job.
sexy, those are not, let me just finish it. Let me just finish. Those are not, things that get a lot of headlines. You can't go out and wave a flag about it, but these are things that save a lot of lives. Let's not forget that virtually every weekend in the state of Ohio, in our cities and other places, we're seeing innocent children who are killed, innocent children who are shot by someone who's in a gang, someone who is in a drug, someone pulling off a drug deal. All these reasons. Look, we have to get the violent offenders off our streets. We have to target the violent offenders. What we have done goes a long way to do that. We've even gone in and told some of our cities, look, if you want us to come in and be of assistance to you in a weekend as you do a sweep, as you do a real concentration, we'll bring some of our DRC, our correction people in, our parole people in, to pick up some of these people. We'll also bring in the Ohio Highway Patrol to be of assistance. You run it. It's your city, but we'll come in to help. And we've done that in a number of cities, and we will continue to do that anytime that we're requested. We also, when we had cities that were having disturbances that summer, look, I told every single mayor, if you have a problem that you cannot handle and you want the Ohio National Guard, we will send them in. But we're not going to send them in unless you, as the mayor, say this is what we need. And they're going to come in and assist. They're not going to be in charge, but they'll give you the backing that you need. And unfortunately, we had to do that on several different cities, several different occasions. But it's an understanding, it seems to me, while understanding what is going on in our communities every single weekend, you've got to get at the violent repeat offenders, and you've got to get them off the street. This does have to do with public safety. And again, it's protecting lives.